Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. So, this week, the background footage is just going to be a repeat of me doing the quest to get the last Flame Feet catalog that I need to make sure I can upgrade the corn popper when the event quest ends. This week, the event quests are still the same as last week, with one thing relatively important and worth noting. That being that the Uthduna quest, the challenge quest, will be up for its last week this week. So if you're trying to get an A rank on it, you should try to squeeze that in as soon as possible. It will drop off, I think, around 8 o'clock Eastern Monday. Not sure what time that is elsewhere. Well, for the West Coast, that would be about 5, I think. Either way, get your challenge quest in, get your times in before you run out of time. Other than that, there's been a few interesting changes to the event quest calendars to begin with. So let's take a look at what they've switched up. Now at the very top of the event quest page, you actually see it split between limited time quests and permanent quests. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you see that right now the only two permanent quests listed are the AT quests. So Arc-Tempered Uthduna and Arc-Tempered Raid Owl, which is in line with what they've said. They've said that those would be permanent quests. It's interesting to see that they went ahead and split it off and put it into its own section. That tells me that they're going to continue just releasing the Arc-Tempereds as being event quests rather than integrating them as normal quests, which is fine, but that makes me be inclined to believe that they're never going to actually have them just roaming around as rare spawns or anything like that in the regular maps. But it also begs the question of, are there going to ever be any other permanent quests added, like ones that don't rotate out? Hopefully, but we'll have to wait and see. The next interesting thing is when you start looking ahead at next week's event quests and the week after that. See, the 13th is the official date for the release of the new harder quests and the new talisman-based in-game system. So next week's quests kind of give us a peek into what they may be thinking about the new in-game content. What we're looking at are two quests that relatively mimic two older quests, and all 4 of them are up. So Eldritch Enigma is going to be a hunter rank farming quest that involves Tempered Zuwu, or Shiwu, or however it's said. But you have to be hunter rank 31 to get it, and that reflects Anguish and Atrocity, which was hunting a Guardian Doshagama. So since that one has a higher hunter rank requirement, in theory at least, it should give you more hunter rank points. Now one of the questions will be, does it give you enough more that if it takes more time to complete, it's actually worth doing that rather than the lower rank one? And that same question pops up for Tongue-Tied versus Wreaking Havoc and Wyveria. See, Wreaking Havoc and Wyveria put you up against a Guardian Fulgur Anjanath to farm up hard armor spheres. Well, will it compensate by being a harder quest by giving you more hard armor spheres than the Chotacabra one does? Because I'll be honest with you, it's not that hard to kill the Tempered Chotacabra, and the Guardian Fulgur is going to need to drop a substantially higher amount of hard armor spheres. Like, right now you can generally get enough hard armor spheres off of the Chotacabra quest to fully upgrade a piece after about 3 quests. So that's not a lot of time. If you can't either do the Guardian one faster or get enough hard armor spheres to maybe cap off more than 1 piece, then it just won't be worth doing compared to that lower rank one. But that does imply that they're looking at giving us more efficient systems to grind up to closer to what would be considered end-game levels, because just hitting the max level needed to finish the game traditionally hasn't been enough to be end game. And a lot of previous titles you really weren't considered to be in the end game until you hit about hunter rank 100. I would say in this one so far that's not been the case. It's not been required for anything. So I'm really curious what the minimum threshold's going to be to hit these new harder quests and get the new talisman system, because if we look at the week after next, we see this whole cycle pop up again with Shining Blades against the Dull Wasteland and no more Mr. Ice Guy being both ways to farm up decorations, but being higher rank. In theory, that should mean they give better rewards than the lower rank ones, since we're talking about talismans, But since talisman, or not talismans, my bad, decorations. So, but since we're talking about decorations and talismans are the things that we're going to be farming, you would assume these are either going to give larger quantities or give better quality. I would hope for better quality since it doesn't actually specify which type of decoration. That doesn't tie them into having to only give one. So it could be that they're a much broader range and they give you a low quantity of the maximum one and a high quantity of the lower rank ones. But either way, they have to do something to make them better to farm it with. Now, more exciting for most people that aren't freshly hitting max is the fact that Hungry for Ore quest is going to give us 2 new weapons. One of which I would bet is a sword and shield, and the other one, I can't remember what other weapon it was that used to have a pickaxe style weapon. I could be completely wrong about the sword and shield thing. I can't remember. I know there's 2 that have traditionally been pickaxes, but I have never played them, so you have to forgive me for not being aware of which ones those are. But either way, they're giving us 2 weeks in a row where we're getting 2 updates to older quests that are meant to be catch-up mechanisms, but since they're updates and higher rank ones, that should make you think there needs to be something else to grind for. Like the original catch-up mechanisms were released just before the Arc Tempered systems really started kicking in, and before Zoshia's high rank version was released. And those only required that really for you to be able to comfortably do it, you needed to be around rank 50, because that's probably where you would have hit to grind up the gear and gems and all that sort of stuff necessary to do it, so they help you get to around that point a little bit faster. So in theory, since these have a higher baseline rank requirement, even though it's only 10 levels higher in terms of requirement, they should be useful to a much higher point. Now, my character's at Hunter rank 100. The only reason why his stuff is not optimized is because I haven't really put the time in to do it, but I'm working on a video where I'm actually trying to put together a true endgame set at the moment, and so we'll see how that turns out. Maybe it'll make things just a little bit easier. I figured it would be good to have a brand new set to test out the rate of hard armor sphere farming when the event quests come out next week, so look forward to that. Anyway, I'll leave the rest of the footage to play out. There's not a whole lot left, but I thought I would just point these little things out, that it seems like they are ramping up the prep towards getting us closer to what would traditionally be endgame, right around the same time that they're releasing newer endgame systems. So maybe things are looking up in terms for the people that have actually been wanting some higher difficulty. Personally, I feel like the Arc Tempered monsters are doing a pretty good job. They're not impossible to fight, but they are frustrating enough if you're not actually trying to pose a little bit of a challenge. But yet again, I'm not even capped off on defense, so I honestly can't tell you that they're that hard because I've kind of limited myself on them a little bit. But let me know what your thoughts and theories are down below. What do you think the purpose of putting out these updated versions of the older grind quests are? Anyway, I'm done here. You have a good night, and remember, if I can beat it, so can you.
We have supply items from the guild.
Bigger wasp for you! Leave this to me. Heels inbound. Great job, partner!
Quest complete. Well handled, Hunter. Operation.